Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Brother Kiran, today on Enlightenment Now. Blessed Sunday to each and every one of our listeners. I hope that the light finds you today and fills you with its invigorating, enlightening spirit. It's a cold one out there, but well, it doesn't stop the sun from shining, does it? I had a conversation this week with a dear old friend of mine. And he asked me, Kiran, he says, why is it that our people are treated with such disdain, such resentment when we try to spread by word of mouth or word of deed our faith to unbelieving peoples? That's a big question, right? And certainly I'm humble enough to admit I don't have the full answer, but I can say that there is something very, I'll say it, comforting about being in the dark. We sleep in the dark. Before we emerge into the world, we are dark in our mother's womb. The dark, the quiet. Plato's allegory of the cave. There is something soothing, something safe about being cut off. And you know, dear listener, as well as I, when you step outside, you first catch a glimpse of sunlight directly on your eyes, oh, it stings a little, it stings. So too, when you walk into a dark room and you flip on that light, there's a brief moment where the animal in you wants to recoil, wants to jump back in fear. I think it's very much the same thing. Their brothers and sisters and kin of all kind cross the Orion arm. You can look at our species' historical texts when it comes to religion, when it comes to divination, when it comes to mythology, and we can see time and time again the sun, the light, the fire is brought up over and over and over by peoples who didn't speak the same language, by people who didn't share the same ancestry, that people whose application of their understanding of the light was so disparate. And yet still this one core essential truth. That the dawn will come. That a night will end. That fire, whether it be stolen from the gods, given by the gods, sprung up from the underworld, whatever it may be, that it is the key to our salvation. The key to our illumination, to our enlightenment. It is baked into our very language, the prescience and benevolence and divinity of the light. In all of these stories of the origins of creation, there is nothing. There is silence. There is darkness. And then there is light. And with the light follows the tumult, the violence, the vigor, the noise of life. A fire is not merely a warm thing. A light can blind. A fire can burn. But so too can they guide. Can they refine? Can they shine our way through a darkened world? What would we be if we strayed away from the things that scare us, merely on the principle that they're frightening, on the argument that they could be dangerous? Why, I don't think we ever would have made our way out of those caves. Do you? Our brothers and sisters, siblings of all kinds across the Orion Arm, they're hiding. They're hiding because they are afraid. They don't know what lies on the other side. They don't know what comes next, and they let that fear control them. Whether it be because the Politburo tells them to, whether it be because secret police will take them away in the middle of the night if they think just a bit too hard, whether it be politically or economically inconvenient to operate in the halls of the highest democracies, but espouse these real truths, whether the divinity of the light and the fire and its recognition is seen as heretical and antithetical to the would-be mortal kings posing as emperors. No. They're not afraid of enlightenment. They're afraid of their masters. They're afraid of their captors. They're afraid of those who subject them and persecute them and keep them trapped down and small. So it's clear. It's clear that despite the fear, despite our mischaracterization, our misunderstanding, our misrepresentation, that what we do in spreading the love of the light is a thing of love. It's a thing of liberation, not class warfare, not looking at the ways in which one human being is more or less of a burden on society than the other, not through the disillusioned ideal that rule by the mob, and certainly not by the divine right of some pumped-up king. The light doesn't need a guide. A fire will burn on its own. We can fuel it, and we can reflect the light, we can amplify it, and we can capture it, and we can try to control it. But there will always be that small, magical mystery, that small mystical element of this most basic foundational essence of our sciences, of our industries, that will escape us, that will be beyond us because it is beyond us. And that's something to be in awe of, inspired by, not frightened by. Well, I remember as a child, I was afraid of the dark. I was afraid of the dark because I didn't know what it was. And well, it's nothing. It's nothing. I remember as a child, I was afraid to try to ride a bike. Try to swim for the first time. I was afraid to do my first cartwheel. I was afraid of speaking in public for the first time. Is that fear founded in reality? No. It's anticipation. Anticipation of hurt, anticipation of denial, anticipation of being rebuked and ridiculed, and the consequences of those things. But that apprehension is an insufficient excuse to not strive to reach more, to not strive to be more, to not strive to shine more. I would not want one of you listening here today to go through light and life in a way where you diminish your shine, where you strive to be less than what you are. It's a herald history. Our species surviving the narrowest of chances. Left to our own devices, scientists and historians, anthropologists, all alike, believe that by the mid-21st century we would have burnt through most of the fossil fuels. Without sufficient pressure to develop sufficient advanced technologies given to us by the hands of our benefactors, we would have been trapped on a slowly dying world. choking on the fumes of industry, succumbing to the consequences of greed and corruption and self-interested politics. What happened in the 20th century, though it came at a catastrophic loss of life, was nothing less than divine deliverance. How else could you imagine it? How else could you see it? Beings from the stars came down to earth, came down to the mortal mundus, to the mundane, to the profane, and they came with light. And the light burned, it seared, it ripped through the world we had before. And from that, we got the stars themselves. We were not trapped on a slowly rotting cradle, covered in our own filth, stuck with the consequences of the ignorance of generations before us. No, we were set free. And what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing, and these sycophants, holding to this myth of a bygone golden age, of the glorious halcyon days before the coming of our Synfaxi saviors. Oh, they cling to these ideas of how nations should be run, of how people should organize, of how to see a class or a race or a status of a human being. It's primitive. Downright primitive. And we're more than that. We are more than that. You know it. And they know it. The soul reaches out, desperate for meaning. It reaches out. And it finds gods, and it finds monsters, and it finds angels, and it finds myths, and it finds ghosts, and it finds stories, and it clings together the small little pieces of a wider world beyond itself, desperate to construct some sort of narrative. It's no mistake that that narrative, in small pieces here and there, led to this, led to our emancipation from Earth. There's the classic idea that that old turn-of-the-century novel, War of the Worlds, was prophetic. And it may be, I am not a Wellesian, but it may be. I think, prophecy or no, what it shows us is that enough pieces had begun to fall into place that even without the Synfaxi coming down, we had begun to see the light. And perhaps it's because we began to see the light, because we began to understand that we were worthy of their gift, worthy of their presence, worthy of their tests. The crucible of Earth, its wars, its burning, its destruction, is not tragedy, any more than the growing pains that a child goes through. Did it hurt? Yes. Oh, yes. But are we better for it? Are we better for it? Unequivocally. Unequivocally. So when you go out today, and I hope you do, and you find those who have not found the light, And they look at you askance because of the way you dress, because of the way you act, because of the way you speak, because of the way you are marked, because of the light that you bring into this world. Do not let it diminish you. Let love guide you, and understand that they are afraid. And they need your help. They need our help. They need our guidance. We were lost in the wilderness for so long. Let us not be lost any longer.